Real Country 1430 AM and 107.3 FM, WRDN. Brian Winnikins at World Dairy Expo, and thank you to our expo sponsors, including Animal Wellness Center of Buffalo Valley, UtterTech, Alcivia Co-op, Wisconsin Farmers Union, also Osseo Plastics. And joining us, Randy Romanski from the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. And he was with Governor Evers on Tuesday for World Dairy Expo. And Randy, thanks for joining us. One of the things the governor talked about, the agriculture component of the Badger Bounce Back Plan. What's in it for agriculture?
Well, actually, quite a bit. And the great thing is, Brian, and you and I have talked about this before, is that it's an expansion of what happened in the governor's budget. So the governor's budget made some investments in meat and dairy processing, to also some international export opportunities, to expand export opportunities, soil and water health initiatives. And the great thing about that is there was bipartisan agreement on that. The governor proposed it, the legislature agreed with it, and that moved forward when he signed the bill. There were some other things that were included in his budget that didn't make it in that package, but I think there's still an opportunity to have some bipartisan conversations, and hopefully we'll see some bipartisan support of these too. And that is item one, going with the meat processing angle. And you've probably heard it, we need to develop talent for our meat processing industry. We hear it all over that whether it's small, medium, or large operation, they're looking for people who want to get into the industry. What's the next generation look like? So there's it's called a Talent Development Improvement Program, which would provide some tuition assistance for people who want to get into the industry. There are also some additional things in there that would further programs like Something Special from Wisconsin and the Farm to School program to make that connection between Wisconsin produced food and commodities with Wisconsin consumers. One of the things we saw during the pandemic is people wanted to know where their food comes from. They wanted to have that closer connection to their food. This is a great opportunity to kind of build that connection. And we're at a time where unfortunately, we still see food insecurity in Wisconsin, and there's some additional funding that's included in that would help make some connections there too.
You mentioned that the something special from Wisconsin. That always, before the pandemic, seemed to be something that was used to promote Wisconsin agriculture in other states and have it where they could see the logo and, okay, I'm in Missouri and I can get Wisconsin cheese. But after the pandemic, we're almost going to use that program to kind of turn internally a little bit so that people in Wisconsin know that what they're buying is from Wisconsin.
I think that's a great point, Brian. The thing that we see over time is that as people get generations removed from the farm, they don't have as much of a connection to where their food comes from. And I think that's something special from Wisconsin logo that's on there. Gives us that reminder, like, oh yeah, this could be from somebody just down the road. This could be from my Main Street meat processor or dairy plant, in the next town over. Um, and I think that connection is important. I think people want to know where their food is coming from. I say this a lot, and I haven't seen it trademarked yet, but know your farmer, know your food. And the pandemic really kind of helped people recognize that a little more. And I think for Wisconsin, that is a good thing because we grow, produce, and process so much. And any way we can make that connection between producer and consumer, I think is a good thing in Wisconsin.
When does the governor hope to see this all through the legislature, or at least get that support there from the legislature to get this all moving forward?
I think it's just in the beginning phase now. There's some legislation that'll be circulated for co-sponsorship, and hopefully that's where we start to see some bipartisan support, or for sure bipartisan discussions. The good news on this one is there's some information out there about those provisions already. Those were things that the governor had proposed in his budget initially, and again, I think there's a really good chance. I think there's a good chance to have some discussions about these things because when we're talking about connecting to consumers or food insecurity or trying to build that next generation of the meat processing industry in the state, I think those are conversations that are going on all the time right now, and we're optimistic and hopeful to keep having those conversations with legislators.
Randy Romanski with the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. We're at World Dairy Expo. I'm Brian Winnikins for WRDN.